All in Sports Network. We love sports.
It is Saturday, February 15th, the night after Valentine's Day, my favorite morning to wake up to. This is your daily fix for all things Texas Longhorns right here on All In Horns, brought to you by Rogue Sports Network. I'm Tanner Carlson. That is Jake Jimerson. And we have a hopefully quicker episode. It depends on what this conversation comes out to. But we have a little bit of a conversation piece. We've got a Saturday slate of college hoops to go over, and then we will give our takes on Saturday's games and a prediction of the Texas game this Saturday, which is against Kentucky. Yes. Okay. There it is. Not that I've completely lost interest in Texas of knowing who they're playing today. But so the conversation happened on X, the Everything app, where who was your favorite terrible Texas era quarterback? Who was your quarterback hero who is going to bring them out of the depths in which they were sitting in and settling in post Mac Brown era? And there were some interesting names out there that were being thrown out. But Jake, I'm without me listing off a handful, first one that comes to your mind.
You know, I'm going to steal the one that you would take first. First off, I don't think Sam Ehlinger is in this conversation just because they had success.
I excluded him as
okay.
well.
I wanted to make sure we agreed on that.
Yeah, I excluded Sam Ehlinger because he would be, yeah.
Okay. It's David Ash, right? He's the biggest what if.
Yeah. And that's an injury. That's so for people who don't know, went to high school with David Ash. I was a junior his senior year at Belton, and then went to the Texas Temple game that was televised. He had already committed to Texas. Lake Seastrunk for Temple had committed to Oregon at the time. I was at that game in the student section, and it was on ESPN prime time Friday night. And so got to watch David Ash's high school career. Didn't really realize, or I guess understand at the time, the concussion issue. And then obviously went to Texas. Coincidentally enough, by happenstance, I just was going to the Texas-Oklahoma State game. And Case McCoy was supposed to start that game, or maybe it was Shane Buechele at the time. And I go to it, and Shane Buechele is out for the game, or Case, whoever's starting. David Ash comes in for his first career start for Texas, me unknowingly going to that game. So I not only got to see his high school career, I watched David Ash's first start as a Texas Longhorn quarterback. And he was always my what if. He was always, my what could have been player in Texas history in terms of, was he good enough to kind of overcome the flaws of those teams and then maybe change the landscape of Texas moving forward in terms of recruiting and how far this team could actually, play and kind of get us back up to that point. But he was never there consistently enough, long enough to kind of make that change. I think he was 15-7 for his career at Texas.
It was he had a surprisingly good record for how bad Texas was then. Yeah. And he was that guy who always seemed to make a play. He could use his legs, probably too much, unfortunately. And he could make all the throws, and he probably wasn't going to be like a big pro prospect, but he was a really good college quarterback that could have been a great college quarterback. But like you said, it just ends up being that biggest what if of the time period. Cause a lot of the other ones were teases. That's what I call them. Jared Hurd. That
you'll never get me more excited to talk about a game than Gerard Hurd versus Cal, where he just broke every Texas quarterback record, total yards record, touchdown. I mean, you name it. The dude, that was one of the more memorable performances. And I said, Jake, we found Vince Young after that game, and that didn't really ever pan out. He was a wide receiver the next season.
Yeah, it took a turn. It took a turn for the worse, to say the least. I'm trying to find that game here. I think I got it. I wanted to pull up. So Hurd was 20 of 31 with 364 yards passing, no touchdowns passing.
Oh, I thought he had
surprising.
some touchdowns.
He had one interception, but he had 364 yards passing. But he had 24 carries for 163 yards and 3 touchdowns. And one of them was a 45-yard.
I was going to say one of them was a long, like 50-yard touchdown.
And this team had some fun players too, which is, I think the defense this year just ended up being terrible the whole year. But yeah, Deontay Foreman, Jonathan Gray, Dejae Johnson.
Yeah,
he's one of man. Talk about a guy back then that you would love to bring to now in Sarkisian's offense. Johnson would be one of those sleepers.
Yeah, he would fit in really well in terms of just the all-around athlete that he was.
And just the style of player he is, it fits better in today's game. Right. And then Sarkisian's ability to utilize that type of player would be great. And that game hurts because you lose because you miss an extra point. And that was just in the era where it felt like Texas found the most ridiculous ways to lose games.
That was kind of the beginning of the end, if you will, was that era. Yeah, like you said, getting good talent, really good leftover talent from some of those teams with the running backs you just named. But and then you do have some really good individual performances. I mean, people don't realize Deontay Foreman was in the Heisman race for his senior year.
I think it was 2016.
Yeah, his 2016 season. I mean, the dude was like
2016.
I think he finished 4th or 5th in the Heisman race that year.
Yeah, and 2015, what a weird, awful year this was, to be first off. But you get blown out by Notre Dame, game 1, one of the worst games. Ever. I mean, that was a Charlie Strong era game if I've ever seen one. Mm-hmm. You beat Rice 42-28. That's not good. That's Rice. They scored 28 on you.
Put up 20.
God, this man, going back. Folks, if you're ever mad at Steve Sarkisian, go to ESPN, go to Texas, go to schedules, click through old years. Because you lose 45-44 to Cal, you lose 30-27 to a ranked Oklahoma State team. So you're like, oh, close loss against a good team. And then you lose 50-7 to number 4 TCU, 50-7. Then you beat Oklahoma 24-17, one of those random wins.
One of those
OU.
Years.
Beat K-State, you're rolling, right? 23-9. Just beat OU, now you beat K-State, turn the season around. Lose to Iowa State 24-0.
I think I remember that goose egg game. God, I remember that shutout.
I forgot we lost to Tech that year. That was the game where Warren went off for 276 yards rushing. I forgot they lost that game.
Chris Warren, talk about a hell of a running back, man. God, I love that guy. He was fun to watch.
Oh, my God, that Tech game, the defense gave up 665 yards. I don't care if it's Patrick Mahomes. They gave up 173 yards rushing to the starting running back. How many did Patrick
Mahomes throw on us?
372, which honestly isn't.
For how many touchdowns?
For how many? Just one and one interception. But you had DeAndre Washington, who had 28 carries for 173 yards. Mahomes had 70 on the ground. Just pitiful.
Ugh.
Yeah, that season was ugly. And that just started from talking about Gerard Hurd. But Shane Buechele is the other one who I always thought.
He was just the injuries, man. It just seemed like he could never really stay on the field long enough to be a consistent quarterback. Tyrone Swoops, the 18-wheeler package was better than anything he did as the actual quarterback.
Yeah, he didn't have the arm. Buechele did start that whole 2016 year, and it was just okay.
I just remember thinking, okay, it's not Buechele's fault. I wish he was doing better, but this team built around him is not good.
Probably would have been a really good quarterback in Sark's system.
So there's another
throw
question.
The deep ball.
So this question has not been asked on X, the Everything app, but I will ask it to you here. Is there any player from? Okay, there's obviously plenty of players. What quarterback or what main guy, running back, you can even throw in there that jumps out to you that would thrive in today's Texas teams with Steve Sarkisian in this system?
I'm going to do quarterback because I do think there's so many running backs and wide receivers you can list.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Shane Buechele. I really think he is the style quarterback that would thrive under Sarkisian because he was deadly accurate on the deep ball. He had a terrible offensive line, and he was just not the type of quarterback that could deal with that because he's not a running quarterback. But I think he could have thrived under Sarkisian's system and just kind of spreading the field, hitting those deep balls, hitting that deep post route, and then just kind of hitting those intermediate route throws along with it, and then quick screens to get it going. I feel like he's kind of a sleeper pick that you could put into today's offense for Texas, and his numbers just explode.
Yeah, no, I think you're probably right. I don't know how I would feel about, and we said we were going to exclude Sam Ehlinger, but again, I'm not sure if Sam Ehlinger's play style Sark would have absolutely loved. I don't think it would have meshed very well.
No, I actually, Ehlinger would probably go a notch below David Ash for this specific question.
Yeah.
His style is the exact opposite of what Sarkisian likes to run, which is probably a good thing. I don't think running that style of offense is good for a quarterback, but I do think.
I think one thing we may not be considering with Sam Ehlinger, his player development would be a little bit different under Sark, and I think it would have maybe got him to a level of a different style quarterback even.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to use a quarterback who can run it like that as a battering ram, and it's not like
Will Howard, Ohio State.
Yeah, it's not like he was a bad passer, especially for the college level.
I mean, he's been in the NFL living a life for 5 years now, 4 or 5 years.
Preseason All-Star. And I don't say that in a mean way. Like, he's never really gotten much of a chance to start in the regular season.
And as long as you are an All-Star in the preseason, Jake, you always have a job in the NFL because everyone will take an exciting preseason player as a backup quarterback.
So Ehlinger, I would still put number one. Even though his style doesn't mesh, I think like you brought up a good point. The development would be different. I think they would make it work. And he just had that I'm going to win.
I think Sark would have loved Ehlinger's.
His brain and his moxie
and his attitude. He would have found somewhere to use somehow, some way to use Sam Ehlinger in whatever way he wanted to. He would have loved him as a player. But yeah, it's fun to go back and think about some of these guys and where they would have been if they hired Steve Sarkisian, today's Steve Sarkisian, not Washington's Steve Sarkisian, right after Mac Brown. And you could have just had that transition, and some of the players that came through here would have been interesting. Would have been fun, a fun, what if series.
Wouldn't have gone through a decade of suck.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But all right, Jake, level. let's wrap up the show and let's talk some college hoops before we go. Everybody getting their Saturday settled in and hopefully watching us pregame before some of these games. We've got a big one. Number 1 Auburn at number 2 Alabama. Now, this has no impact on Texas this season, even though they are in the same conference, because Texas is well out of range to reach either one of those two teams. But Auburn, Alabama, not only a huge rivalry game, but a 1-2 game, an Iron Bowl 1-2 game.
Yeah, how fun is that? And Auburn just dropped their first game recently to Florida. The environment's going to be rocking. $302 minimum ticket price.
Was that a look-ahead game for Auburn, by the way?
No, because it's Florida. It's not look-ahead when you're playing a top 10 team.
Okay.
That doesn't go. Losing to Vanderbilt would have been the look ahead because that's who they just played.
No, that's a fair assessment. I was just asking.
Florida's just a really good team, and if you catch them on a day when they play well, that's how kind of all these top SEC teams are.
I like Florida. I like Florida a lot.
This is a tough game to predict because I think
it's at Alabama.
Yes, that plays into it. I mean, I'm going to watch this game. My wife is actually going to be at the spa that day because I booked her a spa day. Good husband, I know.
Nice.
And so
for Valentine's or just random?
Originally for Christmas.
Oh, okay.
And then a blizzard hit, so she had to reschedule, and she could only do a weekend, and it's like a 5-hour thing.
Gotcha.
And so the next time they could get her in was this. She's like, I guess it's for Valentine's Day. I was like, a little bit of both.
That works.
That works. And so $302 to get into an Alabama Auburn basketball game. That's crazy. By the way,
wild. Yeah.
But I think Auburn's a little bit better of a complete team just because I think they play better defense than Alabama. But that doesn't necessarily matter because Alabama's so damn good on the defensive side of the ball.
I think Auburn is a better tournament team than Alabama, and I think Alabama will shine in a regular season game. And I know some people are like, well, what's the difference? I think it's a different kind of attitude and the way you carry yourself and style of team you need to be come tournament time than what you need to be in front of your home crowd in the regular season. I think Bama wins this one closely, and I don't think they get to 100. I think Auburn's going to be able to slow them down a little bit. I'll say an overtime game, Alabama 90, Auburn 88.
I'm going Auburn 88, Alabama 84.
Okay.
Regulation.
Yeah. It's going to be a good game. And I don't think either team, whoever loses or wins this, you're not going to be like, yep, that's the number one team in the country compared to them. I don't think you're going to come away with that type of outlook on this game.
You're going to come away with those are the top two teams in the country outlook.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah. Number 22, Mississippi State at Ole Miss, another rivalry game here between the two Mississippi teams in the SEC. Jake, where are you sitting on this one?
This is like a home court decides the winner for me. So I'll take Ole Miss. I do think it's going to be a really close game. Another one, Saturday is going to be a basketball day for me.
It's
where I
sit
beautiful. Down and just like the other weekend where there's like KU Houston and a bunch of really good games in a row. I am very excited for this slate of basketball, and this game included. It's fun when you get these rivalries that normally aren't great basketball games that are incredible basketball games this year. But yeah, give me Ole Miss in a close one. I'll say by 5.
All right. Yeah. I think
75-70 to put a score on it.
Okay. I think, man, Ole Miss, I've watched more Ole Miss than I have Mississippi State. I've watched a handful of Ole Miss games this year, or at least, tuned into them. So I'm more familiar with Ole Miss, and they do play that typical Chris Beard, just gritty style. He's already got his identity on that team. Now they don't have the skill, but I also don't really know a ton about Mississippi State. I'm not that familiar with them, but I will say Ole Miss because of my familiarity with Ole Miss, and just that style tends to play a part in these rivalry games where it can get a little sloppy. It can get a little turnover prone. I think that benefits Ole Miss's play style a little bit better, and they're at home. So I'll put a score on it. I'll say 68-63. Ole Miss. All right. We'll go number 6, Houston at number 13, Arizona. Big 12 game, which, again, got to remind people, Arizona, Houston, that is a Big 12 game.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I mean, Houston, I've kind of gotten used to at this point. Arizona is going to take me a while.
Yeah.
And Arizona's kind of had a weird season. They were just okay to kind of below average out of conference play, and then in conference they've been on a tear. I mean, they're 11-2 in conference play.
What's that say about the Big 12?
Yeah, I mean, the Big 12 does not look like the Big 12 of the last 5 years.
No, it doesn't, but they still have some good basketball teams.
Yes, they do. I'll take Houston in this game because I do think Houston is without a doubt the best team in the Big 12 in basketball. Yeah. And when they have these big games like this, they don't drop them. I mean, their only loss was a 1-point loss to Tech, who's been one of the hottest team, probably the hottest team in the Big 12 as far as the run they've been on after kind of struggling earlier on in the season, which is funny to think because we were mad at the start of the year because Texas didn't get to play them because they lost to St. Joseph's, who Texas then beat. And so you kind of wrote off Tech in your mind. They lost handedly, or not handedly, pretty close game to A&M, then lost to UCF to open up Big 12 play, and then have just won a bunch of games in a row, just lost to Arizona, ironically. But I think Houston is just, I think they're a notch above everyone else. And when they play their best, which they do a lot, they're going to stomp you. And when they just play good basketball, they're going to find a way to win. I think they find a way to win this 65-58.
It is on the road, so it makes me hesitant, but I do think that this is the type of game Kelvin Sampson wins for his team. I mean, I've loved Kelvin Sampson. If he wasn't 69 years old or 70 years old, something along those lines, I'd want Texas to go ahead and nab him up. But I want someone who's going to build a lasting program, not just be here for a couple of years.
69 years old. You got that on the dot.
Yeah, I think it's 70 or something like that. Dude, I watch some ball. I hear the things people say during broadcast. But yeah, it's
like the SEC being 82 and 82.
82 and 82. Can you believe that? They're 87 and 87 now. All week they kept it the same. Unreal, Jake. Did you know in the ACC and Big Ten, they're also every Power 4 conference is 500 right now within
just
conference.
No one
play.
Sticks out. No one's separating. No one's sticking out.
Parity we need in sport, Jake, is what college basketball has done. That's parity. Idiots.
Dude, that clip is so bad.
Idiots.
It's so bad.
I'll take Houston to win this one on the road. I'm gonna go 81-78.
Ooh, that's a high scoring Houston game.
Yeah, close game. Number 16, Wisconsin at number 7, Purdue. Talk about defense, baby. Here we go.
Yeah, Purdue is just, I have no desire to watch them ever. I really wish they disappeared once Zach Edey was gone. I wish they disappeared while he was there.
Yeah, that would have been better.
But I don't trust Wisconsin. I especially don't trust them on the road against a higher ranked team. If this was at Wisconsin, I would take Wisconsin, but since it's at Purdue, I think Purdue wins 85-77.
Yeah, if you look at Wisconsin's schedule, their best win is against a then number 9 Arizona team very early on in the season. But you look at what they've done throughout conference play, aside from, I mean, even UCLA is not great this year. They're not ranked, but they haven't played a ranked opponent in conference play yet. And so I'm going to take Purdue big in this one. I think Purdue wins by 15.
The Big Ten is, I guess they got 4 ranked teams: Michigan, Purdue, Michigan State, Wisconsin.
Michigan State's going to be one of those teams, Jake. You know it is.
This seems like a year where they make a run in the tournament.
This is a Tom Izzo. Michigan State is going to make a run to the Elite 8, Final 4 out of nowhere type season.
They're number 11, so not out of nowhere, but yeah, it feels like it's due. Michigan State's just due for that Final 4 run.
That's what Tom Izzo does. Yeah. It's like UConn. All right, Jake, did you give a prediction on that one?
Yeah, I think I said like 85-77.
I was looking up stuff. All right, final one, Jake. Number 15, Kentucky at Texas. 7:00 tip off tonight. It's not going to be fun. Texas is going to lose this game. They're going to lose 4 straight.
Yeah, I think it'll be a closer game. I just don't think Kentucky's near as good as like Alabama or some of these other teams. I mean, they're 6-5 in SEC play.
Yeah, they've been okay.
Yeah, like they lost to Arkansas at home. They've lost to Ole Miss. They've lost to Vanderbilt. but they beat Tennessee. They handled A&M. And so they've swept Tennessee, actually.
That's actually impressive. But that's a big rival. That's a big rivalry game. That's a 50-50 toss-up.
Yeah. And so I don't see Texas winning this game. I think Kentucky's more talented. I think they're better coached.
Now, according to what you just read off, this is a game Kentucky could possibly drop because they typically rise up to the big dogs and then they let their foot off the gas a little bit when it comes to some of these middle of the range, lower tier teams.
Yeah, I just don't think that matters with Texas right now.
I agree.
I haven't seen them play good basketball in a while now. The last time we saw them play good basketball was against LSU. The time before that was in a loss to Ole Miss. And I don't think the Moody Center is going to be rocking. I think there's going to be a lot of blue. It might even be borderline home court advantage to Kentucky. And I think this will be essentially the final nail in the coffin. They're not going to make an in-season move. That just isn't going to happen.
Well, not at the end of the season either. I mean,
no, but I think this will make the fate more obvious than it already is.
Yeah. I've got Kentucky 81, Texas 72.
I'm going to go Kentucky 91, Texas 77.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. Very optimistic fans about Texas basketball in the state in which they are in right now. But hey, maybe they can prove us wrong on this final stretch of games, go on a big win streak, and I will continue to pick against them until they prove me otherwise. But for Jake Jimerson, I'm Tanner Carlson. This is your daily fix for all things Texas Longhorns. Enjoy a great, beautiful Saturday slate of college basketball. Again, like, share, subscribe. 5 days a week, we bring out these episodes at 12 noon. Again, All In Horns, brought to you by Rogue Sports Network. As always, hook 'em.
All In Sports Network. We love sports.